Welcome back. Welcome to my channel. I'm Stacy. I'm here in my museum in Gold Canyon, Arizona. If you are new to me, I am also the Desert Nature Alliance, so welcome. Come hang out. Today, I'm going to talk about birds. And for those of you that have been following, have watched on Instagram or Facebook or wherever on YouTube, and you've been noticing a lot of birds lately. Well, yeah, it's just that time of year. But you also, I'm sure, have noticed through the years, I haven't really done a series on birds. So let's be honest, I am not a bird expert before I go any further with this video. No, not a bird expert, not coming at you like that. But it's definitely time for more of us to be involved, to learn more about birds. The month of May is here. It's when they do the global big day and they count all the birds. So hang out with me for a little while. I want to talk about birds, do like a little intro. Let's get us into it and get more of you on board with me as I start my journey learning more about birds. I definitely can't come online and start talking about them without more education. Need my water. As always, I'm out in the desert. You gotta drink water, drink water, drink water. So grab yourself a cup of something to drink, get you some liquid. I'd say grab a paper and pencil if you are in the learning category when you're watching my video. Shout out to all my online students out there. Hello. So yeah, we're going to talk about birds today. We're going to start in the most basic of terms about it because it's such a large category. I honestly don't know why it's not taught as a subject in school, like math, like English. Birds could literally be its own subject all the way through from when you are in kindergarten until you graduate and then some. It is not one of those topics or subjects you go, one day I'm going to pick up a book and learn about birds. Absolutely not. There is so much information when it comes to birds, just their basic anatomy, the ability to fly, the history of the stories surrounding them, it goes on and on and on. So it was definitely one of those daunting subjects when I said, okay, at some point we do have to talk about birds, Stacy. But why hadn't I really? Let's be honest. Why hadn't I really got into doing videos and stuff? Well, there's actually laws and protections around a lot of the birds. It's called the Migratory Bird Act, and there's things you can and can't do without having a permit. So after I got my, it was legal nonprofit and showed that I was doing things for education, and I'm education support, I was able to apply and get my, I have my permit right there that now allows me to pick up whether it's bird feathers or parts and stuff and be able to do this form of education with it. And then also to be able to, at the end of every year, I have to be able to tell them what I found and where and those kind of things and be a part of it all. And it's fantastic. So wanted to share that with you. Like I said, yeah, you have to do things proper. You can't just, say, I want to drive a car and don't have a license. You can't just jump out and do that. And so it was the same with the birds. They have things in place to protect the birds. You're like, what are you talking about? Well, for us now in 2022, that does seem kind of strange. You're like, what are you talking about with the birds, Stacey? Well, as fashion has come and go, there were times where people were killing birds just to have the feathers, to wear different things. There's just been different things through the history of birds. Like I said, it's something from the dawn of time. This is not something I can just tell you in one video, so we've got to start with it. Birds that have some of these beautiful feathers, people were killing to extinction. At some point, something has to be put in place to stop. Certain birds need to be protected. I'm going to use one example, like snowy egret, these beautiful white feathers. We have those birds across the street at the golf course just randomly show up. Well, they would randomly just show up if we didn't have laws in place that actually protect those birds. So you can't hunt them and you can't do certain things. So knowing that the general population doesn't know that there's rules out there, like you can't even pick up a feather, I thought, okay, let's start somewhere. Let's start with birds. We're just start with the topic of birds, right? So come hang out with me and we're just going to start talking about birds. Some of you might say, well, there's not even birds around me. That I'd be really surprised about, considering on our planet right now, there are somewhere they estimate between 50 billion birds and 400 billion birds. They're not not even really sure. So I'm pretty sure there are birds around you. You maybe don't have a feeder or something where there's seeds or where there's a food supply for them. So if you're not seeing birds, it's probably because there's not food and shelter and water right there for them. Birds are pretty simple. If you want to be able to see birds and have them around your area, a little bird feeder is going to immediately call out all of your local birds to be able to see who the usual suspects are. Now you can't put out a bird feeder and expect all of a sudden a bald eagle is going to show up. It doesn't work that way. So like I said, so it's such a big topic. And where do you start, especially if you're new to birds? You're like, Stacy, where are we going to go? Well, let's start at some point of the beginning, right? So, okay, used to be dinosaurs. Were there bird dinosaurs? Were there dinosaurs that were flying around? Well, yes, there were. But what I come to find out as I studied a little bit more, that the pterodactyl that was out there was actually considered a reptile. It wasn't a bird as such. It was a reptile that was flying, which I thought was fascinating. I live in the desert. Okay, so huge flying reptiles. Okay, you got me. I'm in. I also live in an area, I'm in Gold Canyon, where we have a mountain they call Dinosaur because it looks like a dinosaur. So I was like, okay, this is kind of neat to me. I was always under the impression that a velociraptor was a dinosaur that could fly, that it was in the dinosaur category. From the more I'm studying, it doesn't look like the biology really was going to let it. The arms weren't going to do it. Maybe it had some feathers, but so it was one of those species that maybe not. I don't know all the specifics. I'm sure there's some of you out there watching this going, well, but I can answer. Well, fantastic. Put it in the comments. Be part of this dialogue for those of us that are new. But remember, too much information on certain stuff and too much scientific stuff for some of us really is just off-putting, and it makes us run away. I don't want to do that. I want to keep our conversation light and loose as we continue talking about birds, where it's something that we're all just very comfortable with. Lately online, you're going to see baby birds. Could I actually identify them? No, I couldn't, unless I could see the mom. So once in a while, if I saw the mom flying into the nest, I would be able to tell you, oh, that's a thrasher. It's one of our very common local birds that makes a nest in the jumping cholla. I saw it go in and out, was able to see the nest. Okay, was able to get some pictures of it. But other times I see smaller birds and I have absolutely no idea, except it's a little bird. Don't know, but that's when you reach out to the rest of the world and the internet and everyone and say, hey, I saw this, I found that, help me. What if it is something magical and special that I found? I don't know, someone else will tell me, but more often than not, the bird that I've seen or found or whatever is something rather common. I need to keep my water near me. I'm in the desert, you guys. I dry out, I talk a lot. I'm already at your 8-minute mark talking about birds, hanging out with you. I'm really glad that you're here. I really want to encourage you to look at your calendar, mark it off on the 14th. May 14th is Big Global Day is what they call it. Cornell Labs is counting the birds. You can't do that by yourself. So even there's scientists out there and stuff. There's just too many, and they would love it if more of us got on board. You just get the free app, and then that day you look in the sky and go, okay, well, I saw this kind of bird, that kind of bird. And if you're like, well, Stacy, I can't identify them. Well, that's why we're talking about it now. I'm going to give you a little bit of time in advance to get semi-acquainted with the birds in your area so you can be part of it too. You can be part of the big day and start helping out. You're going to be amazed at what actually lives around you. Now, a few years ago, if you'd have told me that I had cardinals that lived around here, big, beautiful red cardinals living around here, well, I shouldn't say big, they're not that big of a bird, but they're just beautiful birds. I'd have told you no way. I had never seen one. Simply not seeing a species of bird doesn't mean that it doesn't live in your area. Right across the street from me is a golf course, or is part of a golf course, I should say. And because of that, they have these beautiful birds that are called vermilion flycatchers. I have never seen one over here across the street. They only hang out over there. And I'm gonna assume it's because the food, whatever they're eating over there is there, and it does not live over here with me. When I put out seeds and stuff, it doesn't make them come running. Okay, they're over there. So simply saying, I don't have this in my area would not be accurate at all. Birds fly, they're all over the place, but certain things draw them to certain areas. That is where watching, observation comes in. Anyone can do observation. You can listen for birds, you can watch for birds, you can be out and be a part of it with them flying around. All of this observation is what tells us what is going on with the birds, with the climate, what is happening. I am able to have food and water for them, so then I have an abundance of birds on purpose, so I can watch them at a safe distance, watch the babies come and go, and start learning more, so I can do what I'm doing here, so I can share with you. I'm not attempting to learn every bird that's out there. I'm attempting to learn what is in my general location. And so that's what I'm telling you to do. I want you to do with me in your area, wherever you are, because I'm online. This is across the globe, you guys. I know people all across the globe now. In your area, I want you to start looking at the birds. If you're in an apartment complex, you're like, I can't do it, then go to a local park. Maybe by where you work, there's birds, there's somewhere. Maybe it's at the beach. Maybe it is more of a wooded area you need to go to. Oftentimes a fountain in a large city is where the birds collect, because that's where water is, and they know it's a little bit safer area. People throw out food and stuff for them. So there's lots of different areas that you can go to and find birds and just start, okay, these are the birds that are around me. 14th's coming up. I'm going to be part of the big global day, and I'm going to start learning about birds along with Stace and the Desert Nature Alliance, and share the information. That's the other big part of it, is share it with us so we all can learn as it goes. What if there is a species that now is hanging out in my area I wasn't so much aware of, but you were over here as it's migrating or changing or whatever? We are all in this together. When you think about birds and how much they are part of our culture and the stories and the just how it goes anywhere from our music or our movies or the names of teams that we use to birds are everywhere. You think of the stories, I want to say, of Noah's Ark, but like after the flood, they sent like a bird out, and so if the bird landed or brought back food, that meant so like the water was down. The birds were telling you things. A canary in a coal mine sent a canary in, and if the canary could still breathe, or there was too much gas, it killed it. There's stories upon stories upon stories that involve birds, or people using birds, or trying to fly, or trying to create their own wings, and the wings melting. The Phoenix, I live near Phoenix, and the whole story of it. Birds are throughout history and throughout the culture. You can continue naming it, and that's again why I'm trying to do this video today, and to spark that in you, and to get your brain going. Yeah, there are things that are named after. Oh, there's a movie, or there is a superhero, or whatever it is. Or my favorite basketball player was Larry Bird, or there's a Sue Bird, or there's the things that are out there in the culture that involve birds. I've had birds fly into the house, and I would post it online, and friends would be like, oh my God, do you know what that means? Well, I don't know what that means to you. Does that mean something else? To me, it meant the door was left open. To some people, that means it's an omen of something good or something bad to come. I have roadrunners that are out here around us. For a lot of the culture, roadrunners, especially the Native culture, Native American culture out here, roadrunners are special, and they're wonderful birds. So to have them running through the property, or to see one, is considered something special. So it just, the list goes on and on with birds, with songs. One of the first ones that comes to me is bird, 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 bird is a word. I mean, birds are everywhere. You have in the bands, the Eagles, you want to fly like an eagle. The songs about flying, about birds in general. I would argue to this day that the best part of watching Purple Rain is not really Prince. Sorry, y'all out there. It's Morris Day and the Time. Oh, hallelujah. Doing the bird. Our culture, everyone's culture, seems to embrace at least one bird or another. Whether for the United States, it's the bald eagle. And you can go through other countries, other cultures of what birds are around them and how they treat them and the respect to them. So there's so much you can cover when you're talking about birds that I didn't think that I was going to do it all today. It was kind of that, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just start talking about it. All the different topics that I am going to be able to make smaller videos on to highlight certain points to things that we can look for, the things we can learn about, every bit of it. So I was very excited to come today and go, okay, what do I want to show you? What can I show you? Where are we at, Stacy, out here in the desert? What do you have going on? Okay, for the Desert Nature Alliance, for the museum itself. Once I got my permit, I was able to, when I'm out hiking, when we're out anywhere on the roads traveling, if I found something that had fallen, I was able to collect whatever parts of it, whether it was feathers, parts, because it's usually just parts. You're not going to find a whole bird out there. That would be rare. And then for me now, the struggle is, okay, we're going to have to take it back safely. Birds do have diseases. You can't just pick things up, touch things. You need to be careful how I'm going to be able to display. What can I display? Just all of the above. So my education at this point for me has gotten serious, and I will continue to take it serious as I always do. This is everything to me for the Alliance. To be able to do this is super important, and I don't want to lose my permit whatsoever. So I'm going to do it all as proper as possible. So the first thing that I want to do right now before I pick up anything or talk to you or show you anything that I have in my collection is I'm going to put on gloves, and not just little gloves I'm putting on gloves. Now I am out in a garage, so I'm ventilated. I would not recommend handling any dead bird that you saw. Number one, like I just went over and over again, is that there are laws protecting it, and you need to have that pretty piece of paper that I paid for and took me a year to get to apply before you can do any of these things. I do not kill anything. I don't house birds. I don't sell any of this stuff. Absolutely not. This is strictly for education purposes and to help with our environment and to encourage those of us that are continuing our education and to learn from. So no, there's nothing, as always in the collection, is just part of the museum. Now, one of the fascinating things that I seem to find parts, and what it has told me, is you're going to find out here, because we have predators and the amount of predators, that is why my ecosystem is unique. And let me back up as I'm talking about it right now. Why I ever started this, why I became the Desert Nature Alliance, why we worked so hard for the education, is because I knew living on a large amount of desert property where we were with this amount of animals, this is unique. This is not a level of anything you're going to find in most places. And so remember that as you're talking to me. I really don't want you to think you're going to step outside and find some of the things that I find. In part because some of them may not even be in the part of the world that you're in, but it really isn't that common. Again, that is why I wound up applying for the things, and that's why I'm doing. That's why I have a channel, all of the above. I want to share the information for those of you that can use it, those of you that are in education that can share it with everyone. So what I was saying, I find things, and this is what got me in the first place, was finding things like this where parts of a bird were on the ground, just out there. Okay, well that means what? That means this bird has landed and a predator has come after it, right? A large one. Whether that would be out here a bobcat, it could be a coyote, it could be a mountain lion out here. We have large predators out here that are going to take the opportunity when a bird lands to eat it. You're gonna be, oh, some of you are cringing right now. Most common bird out there is a chicken, and that is what most of us are consuming. A lot of us are consuming. the separation of it is something that maybe isn't as healthy as it should be. Understanding that a chicken is a bird just the same. It's just a bird that everyone's chosen and said that one's flavorful. That's the one that we're gonna eat. Okay, so the wild animals just the same, see that large section and go for it. And oftentimes wings are left over, a head is left over, talons are left over, because who wants to eat that? No one is eating that. I don't tend to eat the actual feathers from my chicken. I don't eat the actual claws or the beak. So just the same, my wild animals are leaving the same type of parts. What is fascinating to me, size difference, and you know that I do a lot of compare and contrast. Over here, I do have, this is from Vulture. And I do know that this is something we're still working on. Just found Vulture. The size of the different feathers, the uses, the size of what actually goes into the bird. There's so much that we can do on video, and I plan to do with you. And this is one of them. We're going to be doing a good compare and contrast coming up, where I can show you the difference between the feather of a turkey vulture, I believe it's a turkey vulture, possibly a black vulture, and say something as tiny as a hummingbird. Because I do have, let me show you. So we're going to kind of do a little compare and contrast. I know the video is running long, and I didn't really want to do that today. I wanted to keep my video short to keep you interested. Let's keep talking about birds. But I do have, let's see. I have at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 hummingbirds that did not make it, that I can show you size difference. So when we're talking size difference of a feather and of a feather, there's a whole arm hummingbird, there's a whole frozen hummingbird. This is a feather from a vulture. So yeah, it was really important to me to get the license to be able to do this, to be able to show you, to help the education, because not everybody gets to do this. When you have this type of opportunity, when this poor little angel of a bird is found, it had died. It was in the aloe. That wasn't just in a sleeping state. Hummingbirds can go into like a sleeping state called torpor. We can talk about that later. This one had actually died. And you find these large feathers. The compare and contrast is amazing. And so that is definitely something that we are going to get further and further on, the uses of the feathers, the sizes of the individual ones, why an owl, when they fly, you don't hear it at all. And some birds, you can really just hear the flapping. So much. I hope that in this short amount of time, 23 minutes already. Yes, I'm already running long. I've got you intrigued. I hope that you're interested. I hope that you're like, where is she going with this? What is she going to show me? What are we going to do? What are we going to learn about? A lot. We're going to learn a lot together. And I want you to be there with me. And I want you to share it with me, and us to be part of that new movement that does care about the environment, that is paying attention, that is using, we're using our smartphones to get smarter and to educate and to share the education, free education out there with everyone who's interested. So first up, what you're gonna do, mark the calendar. If you don't have a calendar, you need one. We have one for the Desert Nature Alliance. You can go online, that's got Sherman on it. Scott Sherman. You're gonna go over to the 14th and you're gonna mark a big star on that day, and that's gonna remind you that you're gonna start looking for birds. Now you've got yourself maybe a couple weeks. Look for a feeder, see where you're gonna go, see if you can start identifying, download an app, start hanging out with me, looking at some of these videos that we've got out there. Start making your own videos, start taking pictures of the birds around you, start becoming aware of who's around you. Let's start this journey together and spend most of 2022 making a difference, and we're gonna start with the birds. So yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for hanging out. It means the world to me. It really, really does. I'm giving my life for it. I think that this is where I should be, and I'm gonna continue. So now I've got birds to figure out how to tag and display and write down and all that stuff. So let's do this. Let's make a difference, you guys. Have a great afternoon. put it in the comments, talk to me, go over onto Facebook or Instagram if you want to follow me there. It's Also Stace, easy to follow. I can also leave it in the comments and the sections and all that kind of stuff. So talk to you later, birds.